knew I was trans when I was 3, and I fell in love with the story of Belle and the Beast. And I fell in love with the story because she fell in love with the Beast for who he was, not what he was. She didn't take notice to his outer shell. She really saw him for him. And that was just the forefront of the rest of my journey. You know, when I go to the doctors, I'm telling them what I need. I'm telling them what hormone dosages I need. I'm telling them what surgeries I've had and what that means. Transition really is a journey. And just like life in general, every day is a different day. Your yesterday's self is not the same as today's, and your tomorrow's self is not the same as today. I don't want to say I've finished my transition because I don't want to devalidate other trans women. You know, I'm not mentally screwed up in the fact that I can't identify what biological male and biological female is. But I am a trans woman, and I am a woman. And women come in all shapes and sizes
100%.
And genders and representation. So the whole thing with the Supreme Court and J.K. Rowling and her army of trolls, like, bore off. Half of the women that are coming out cheering and screaming love joy, they look like men. They look more like a man than we ever did. I don't see being transgender as a mental health condition. It's not a mental health condition. It's not a disability. It's a superpower. I can hands down say factually it's easier to be male than it is female. One thing that I would love everybody to know about trans women is
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trans Crash, the podcast where every single Thursday we dive deep into stories, experiences, and lives of trans women. I'm your host, Pevi, and I'm so happy that you are listening, you are streaming, wherever you are. The other day, I had a look at our stats, and I realized 64 countries are listening to us, which is amazing. So thank you so much. I think you listen to on all the continents in the world, which is incredible. So thank you so much. Your support means truly a lot. Now, our today's guest is Bella. Bella is a trans woman and TV personality and also a podcaster. And I'm so happy she is in the studio here with us today. Hi, Bella. Welcome to Trans Crash.
hello. I'm so excited to be here.
So happy you are here and can't wait to share your story.
Thank you.
To listen to your story and you share your story with us, and I'm pretty sure we have lots in common as well. So let's dive deep and let's crush it.
Let's do this.
Okay, so my first question for all my trans guests is, what makes you happy? So what makes you happy, Bella?
Oh, what a lovely question. I think for me, what makes me happy is just being my authentic self. I think there's a real courage and a real power when somebody can just go through life authentically themselves and 100% themselves. You know, it takes a lot of time and growth to come to yourself. And if you can figure that out earlier on in life, you've only got the rest of your life to enjoy.
Amen. I love your name, Bella. What made you choose the name, or how did it happen?
Thank you. So it's all about the love story between Belle and the Beast. So, I mean, I knew I was trans when I was 3, and I fell in love with the story of Belle and the Beast. And I fell in love with the story because she fell in love with the Beast for who he was, not what he was. She didn't take notice to his outer shell. She really saw him for him. And that was just the forefront of the rest of my journey. So I was Belle back then and I'm Bella now.
When did you realize you were trans? You said 3 years old.
I was 3.
Was there what was the first signs?
Good question. And how long is a piece of string, right? I think for me, it was a natural progression. Growing up, I always felt different. I wasn't really sure what it was. Something didn't quite feel right. And I'm from quite a privileged background, and you know, my family and the school I went to is very heteronormative. So to even be, you know, queer was just not really something that was spoken about. So to even think about being maybe transgender, it just didn't kind of cross my mind or come into my atmosphere. So going through life, I've kind of always resorted back to that inner child. And I think, you know, we grow up and we become adults and we go through life. But if you can always remember your inner child and really listen to what you want in your inner dreams, that's truly your identity.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because the inner child, the idea of connecting with our inner child, is something that I've been coming back to in my therapy as well. And I think it's so important, because sometimes I see pictures of myself or videos of myself just full of life, happy, innocent little puppy. You know, I was performing since I was little. And sometimes when I see these videos, I cry so hard because all I see is just joy and purity. And I'm like, why do we lose that through lives? Why do we, you know, I know why. It's I think it's the trauma and it's the hate and, you know, resilience and all of that. But as you said, like, connecting with your inner child is so important. And it's something, honestly, it's something that I'm still learning to do. But I think it's the first win is once you realize that you can do that, you can connect with your inner child. I feel like it's really helpful.
Never lose sight of your inner child. You know, she's still there and she always will be. And when you can connect with that inner child on a more deeper level and say, no, this is who I am and this is what makes me happy, then you'll see yourself through the rest of your life.
Okay, Bella is my new therapist from now on. Thank you.
Bless you. I'm taking bookings.
You're good at it.
Oh, thank you, Queen.
So, how was your childhood like?
What a huge question. Again, how long have we got?
All the time you want.
All the time I want. Growing up, I think, in today's society is difficult on its own merit. Throw transgender into the mix, it gives you a whole lot of complexities. I always remember, quite vividly actually, growing up thinking, oh, I wish I was wearing those pretty dresses that the girls are wearing. You know, I had so much dysphoria about my body as a young child. And I learned to cover it up. I learned to deal with it and just push it down and just not think about it or talk about it. And that really impacted me throughout my life in ways that I didn't really know about. And had I had understood, because, you know, we're talking like 30 years ago, when I was really young, you know, going through dysphoria, trans health and trans topics aren't really spoken about in medical field. You know, when I go to the doctors, I'm telling them what I need. I'm telling them what hormone dosages I need. I'm telling them what surgeries I've had and what that means, which is actually quite ridiculous if you think about it, because you go to the doctors hoping for medical advice, but you end up educating them, which is so twisted in so many ways.
I know.
But I don't blame them for it, but there's just a lack of funding, a lack of awareness. And it takes people like me and you to go, this is me, I'm not going anywhere. And just existing is proving that you can live a fulfilling life. So had I had realized that at an earlier stage in my transition, you know, I might have been further along on my journey, but I wouldn't ever go, I want to go back to that and do it all again, because I wouldn't be who I am today.
Exactly.
And transition really is a journey. And just like life in general, every day is a different day. Your yesterday's self is not the same as today's. And your tomorrow's self is not the same as today.
You're full of wisdom. I love it. I love it. I'm just like, yep, tick, tick, tick. I'm like everything you're saying, I agree with. Like, it's so true. It's funny because I went to a doctor a few months ago. He was in his late 60s, and I was just telling him about my story. It was a mental health professional, and I said, like, I'm a trans woman, and he literally had no idea. He was like, so you want to be a man? He had no idea.
They have like.
I was
brain
like, I'll
does not
take that.
compute.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he just had no idea. But again, like, you know, especially if you are going there with your mental health issues and you go in somewhere and you just want help. The last thing is sometimes is to
It's like an eye roll
educate,
moment.
you know.
I'm not going there to educate the doctor. I'm there to get help myself. You know, I'm not Mother Teresa.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
but it really does feel like that sometimes.
It does. But as you said, like, we just, you know, I guess we have to do it. We have no other choice.
We don't have another choice.
Yeah,
Really.
No, we can't just get up and be like, oh, I'm offended because you didn't know what trans means. Like, I'm sitting here like waiting for your help. Like, you have to be respectful at the same time.
You need
because
to tell
you are
me
here for their service.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like we're almost giving them a crash course of trans education in this 10 minutes. It really is, you know?
Yeah. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I'm originally from Devon. So I'm
Beautiful part of the country.
A gorgeous part of the country. Like, genuinely stunning. It is. But growing up there, you know, as a teenager, it's tough because there's not a lot of LGBTQ plus influence there. So you're kind of in this little bubble. So to break out of that, it's an accomplishment in itself. I moved to London when I was 19, and I do go back frequently. I've actually just moved back recently. But yeah, Devon is it's a peaceful place for me.
Yeah. Is your family still there?
Yeah, my family.
How's your relationship with your family now?
Oh, my mum is like my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, she's my mum and my best friend at the same time. I tell her everything.
That's beautiful.
And that I'm lucky. You know, I live a very privileged life as a trans woman. You know, I'm not going to get it twisted. You know, I live my life pretty much in stealth.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my social media, if it wasn't for being on TV, generally people don't realize that I'm trans. And I'm sure you have the same privilege as well. So you know how that is. So me and my mum she's my rock. She's been through all of my journey from start to finish. And I don't want to say I've finished my transition because I don't want to devalidate other trans women who may not be at that point in my journey, or they may not even want to go down that route. You know, for example, there's so much talk about, oh, is she pre or is she post? Well, that doesn't define you, okay? You're still a woman whether you're pre or not. And there's going to be people that might watch this and think, how can somebody be a woman when they have a penis? It's like, I'm not disputing the fact that we weren't born male. Like, that's not going to change. Yeah, I get that. You know, I'm not mentally screwed up in the fact that I can't identify what biological male and biological female is. But I am a trans woman, and I am a woman. And women come in all shapes and sizes,
100%.
and genders,
Yeah.
and representation.
Yeah.
So why are you bashing me for that? Just let me be. Just let me live.
I think it's the people who think, you know, a woman should look like this, men should look like this.
Yes.
Anything in between is wrong.
Exactly.
You know, there are so
very
many trans-
binary.
Exactly. And there is, you know, trans women who are masculine.
Oh my-
Masculine trans women. And that's their choice. They want to be like that. Or that's their
100%.
genetics, you know.
I mean, I've been in toilets before when I can tell she, you know, is very masculine representing. She's biologically a cisgender woman, but when she left the toilet, because she looked very masculine, like, you know, I don't know what her sexuality was, but she was very masculine presenting. I'm in the toilet. These two girls, they're like, oh my God, was that a man? And I'm like, they obviously haven't realized that I'm actually transgender.
I know.
And they're saying that about the lesbian that's come in.
Yeah.
And it's like, we are getting to that stage now where it's like, we're judging someone on how woman they look.
I know. That's the issue of the whole thing.
And this whole argument about chromosomes, XX, XY, or you'll never be a woman, or you'll never be a man because you have XY or XX chromosomes. Well, actually, you're uneducated because gender isn't binary of XX and XY. There are whole complexities of different combinations of chromosomes. You know, yes, you know, if you're looking at the perfect specimen of a human, a male has XY and a woman has XX. But lots of biological women do have Y chromosomes. That is fact.
Exactly.
That is fact. And if you don't believe me, look it up.
Yeah.
I can only educate you as much as I can, but you have to do some work yourself. So the whole thing with the Supreme Court and J.K. Rowling and her army of trolls, like, bore off. Like, you've only caused more harm. And half of the women, sorry to say, half of the women that are coming out cheering and screaming of joy, they look like men. They look more like a man than we ever did. Okay.
They have a bigger chance to be in danger. No, they do have a bigger chance to be in danger.
I know.
In this case.
They, like, so my mum, when obviously when we watched the news and we saw it all, it was very emotional. I mean, I definitely cried. I think you either cry or laugh, and I definitely cried. Now I laugh. But my mum was like, she looks like a man, but she's coming out saying that trans women are not women. What? Do you know what I mean? It just is absolutely ridiculous. And the whole tweet with her going, "Oh, I love it when a plan falls into place."
Yeah, with a
cigar in her
famous
mouth,
photo.
in her overprivileged yacht, like million yacht, thinking, like, there is war going on in the world right now. You know, with Ukraine, Israel, Palestinians. Like, there's so much bad going on in the world, and you have taken your time to go out and attack a marginalized minority.
Yeah, who just wants to live in peace.
Who just want to live their life and just go in peace and just have trans joy. You're going out of your way to do that. That says more about her than it does us.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. I feel like I don't have to be here today. Honestly, your answers are amazing. I really love them.
Thank you.
So you moved to London when you were 19.
Correct.
And what made you move here?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was growing up. I had so much, I want to say, identity complexities in myself. I mean, it all makes sense now. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I was a creative, and I knew that I loved fashion, and I knew that I liked photography. And I didn't really know what to do with that. So I was at college, and I did an art design GCSE and A-level. And turns out I'm pretty good. So I applied for the London College of Fashion, and I was told that I wouldn't get in because I didn't have the correct foundation back then, or whatever it was that you needed. And I thought, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I got in. And it's one of the most exclusive universities in the world.
Oh, wow.
To get to the London College of Fashion, it's part of Central St. Martin's.
Yeah.
So you've got to have talent. You really do. And they don't have many British citizens because they can charge more for overseas students.
Right.
So for me, when I went there, each term was like 6,000, but if they gave it to an overseas person, they could charge 12. So they're actually losing money from having a British person go there, which is actually bizarre. So I got in my own merit, and I did fashion photography.
Yeah. What made you choose fashion photography?
Oh my goodness. So this might sound really far-fetched, but I used to be obsessed with America's Next Top Model. Like, obsessed. And, you know, with Tyra Banks and the whole drama and everything around that. I loved all of that in reality TV, which is kind of weirdly coming into my life now.
Yeah.
But I loved the shoots and the creativity about it and painting a picture. And as a trans woman, I see myself as a bit of a transformer. I like to evolve in my everyday life. I like to create. I'm not a follower. I'm a creator.
Yeah.
And I think many creatives are like that, and trans women specifically. So I thought, right, I'll go and do fashion photography, and I turned out to be quite good at it.
Amazing. And then what happened after your studies?
So I finished my degree, and I needed to get a job because I was broke. And I couldn't live off the bank of mum and dad forever. So I bit the bullet and sold my soul to the devil and started the corporate life.
Okay.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What did you do?
So I started off in marketing for a fashion label. So
I told you we got so much in common. We both are fashion. We both study marketing.
girl,
I studied marketing in Australia. Yeah.
should we just move in together?
Yeah. No, honestly, like it just sounds very similar to my life so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel
Are you
like...
Cancer too?
No, I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
Both water signs, though.
Okay, you both water signs.
Both water signs are in the same pool.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Keep
Yeah,
going.
no, it's fine. Also, massively ADHD, not diagnosed. So if I go off and
Hello.
join the club,
Always late but worth the wait.
oh my god, we're on the doll clock, right?
We're on a dull clock. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
sweet.
much in common.
I mean, we were both late for this podcast
Oh,
today.
Both late. We were both late.
Just-
ADHD, creative.
I was like, Parry, I'm
Best
going to be
people
a little
are,
bit late. And you're like, oh, perfect, same.
Yeah.
Even if you want to be a little bit later, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Yeah. Here we are.
What were we talking about?
Your marketing corporate.
Oh,
life.
right, yes.
I'm surprised I remember that.
Marketing what? So I did marketing for a fashion label.
Yeah.
So it was a high fashion label. I did Fashion Week. I also did a bit of modelling as well. Paris Fashion Week. Hated modelling because of the way they treated you. You were basically just like a hanger and you were nothing else.
Yeah.
But long story, I'm not going to go into that. Not worth it. So did marketing. Then I turned out I was pretty good with people. And I moved into account management and sales. And I quickly became one of the top sellers of the company. I moved over to a sales company and was there in an agency for about 2 years. And then I finally settled on a trading manager for a jewellery company.
Okay.
So it had the corporate money side to it, but it also had the fashion side to it. Because whilst I didn't love doing the corporate side, it still had a sense of fashion and jewellery and, in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Which has kept me interesting. So I did that for 7.5 years. And then I quit my job. And then I went on a reality TV show.
Wow. As a trading manager for a trading manager for a jewelry company, was there any really hard moment or like a challenging time?
Yeah, I think being in the corporate world, you really have to perform and you have to get deadlines.
There's the downside.
It is. It's kind of like you don't have that freedom to express like creatives do. You have this sense of you have to make money, you have to hit target, and if you don't achieve it, you're out.
Yeah.
It's not like we can just be like, oh, I'm going to, let's say, paint a picture or something. I'm going to be inspired and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to give it my energy as and when. Can't do that in corporate world.
No, it's another reason you remind me of my life is because that's exactly, I used to work in corporate life when I used to be a makeup artist, and
Right.
all I wanted to do was being creative and do my makeup. But no, that job, especially like if you work in a department store, it's all about sales.
Exactly.
So your art is not important at all. They just want to sell.
Yeah.
You can do makeup just a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I felt so lost. I felt like my creativity wasn't expressed
Appreciated.
enough. And appreciated. So yeah, I agree with that.
I totally get that.
But on the other side, was there any happy moment? You look back and you
Of
remember a smile
course.
of your face?
Of course. I think for me, it was, a lot of, 7.5 years is a long time. And I think for me, I fell into my, I would say, resilience. And I really found that I can actually do anything I want to put my mind to.
Love it. Strong, determined personality here.
Yes.
Love it. And at this point, were you trans already? Were you represent? No.
I'm a bit of a late bloomer.
Okay. So
So
how old were you when you
I
came out?
started my transition when I was 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, are you even 27? Like, you look she looks like she's 27. Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, I started my transition when I was 29.
I thought you were younger than me.
No, girl.
Okay. Keep talking.
We'll trade secrets later.
Okay.
I promise.
Skincare tips, please.
So I started my transition when I was 29, and honestly, it's not like I woke up one day and went, oh, I'm going to be trans. I always knew I wasn't in the right gender.
There were signs.
There was so many signs. Like, if I'd went to a therapist when I was 3, they'd been like, yeah, you are tick number 1 doll.
But you didn't go.
But I didn't go through that journey. It manifested itself into other issues. Like, I've got anxiety, which actually has come down in bucket spades
After your transition.
after my transition.
Yeah. Was there any because there are people who might be 29 as well, who are watching right now, listening, and they might be they're trans and they are still not brave enough to do it. So can you tell us, let's say your 20s?
Yes.
You said there was anxiety.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that...
So I had a combination of BDD, which is body dysmorphic disorder, anxiety, and OCD. That might sound like a lot. And, one could arguably say, like, that's quite distressing. And it was. I was on medication from when I was 15. I went through trauma and when I was that age. I'm not going to bring it up now because, I'm over that now.
Yeah.
But it really does stick with you. And when you're battling with gender identity as well as going through life, it can form in lots of different ways. And for me, it was OCD, anxiety, and BDD, which now have basically completely gone from my transition.
That's amazing.
And I just really hope that if any medical practitioners or professionals are watching this, if you can treat somebody, because I don't see being transgender as a mental health condition. It's not a mental health condition. It's not a disability. It's a superpower. First of all, we can say, hands on heart, we have lived in 2 genders. How many people can say that?
I know.
I can hands down say, factually, it's easier to be male than it is female.
What would you say is the best part about being trans?
One thing that I would love everybody to know about trans women is...
You were on reality TV show.
Yes.
It was 99 to Beat.
Correct.
It's a reality game TV show.
Yes.
What made you go there? What was it like?
But in a way, I felt like my story was silenced in a way. You will never understand what it's like to be a woman unless you are.
Yeah. So many things I realized after transitioning.
Oh my God, you
in
didn't
terms
even
of
think
safety,
about...
social roles, anything,
Like,
the one thing is good is in the clubs when we get drinks for free.
Oh, girl. I literally did a video about that on my social media.
That's the easy thing.
That's the easy. It's fine. Like, I don't have to spend as much, but I have to spend as much on me.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. But
no.
Of course,
That's a fun side of it. But,
yeah.
There is a dark side
Of
to it as
course.
well. But, I can't walk home late at night on my own anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely can't anymore. That's not fair.
Yeah. Always worrying about your safety, right?
Always worried about your safety. Always having like one look over your shoulder. Am I safe? Is anyone following me? Walking down the streets, getting catcalled 24/7. And stares from men. And it's always. Do you know what? It's really masculine, blokey men that are obsessed with trans women. It's like they see us and their like brain goes into overdrive and it's like, I must sleep with this girl. And they see you as an object. And as we know, we call them in the trans community chasers. And chasers don't even know they're chasers.
Yeah.
So it's difficult dating as well as a trans woman because you don't ever really fully know, do they like me for me or is it because I'm trans?
Yeah, I feel like chasers are those guys who they definitely know they're attracted to trans women. They want us so much, but they would never date us or introduce us to their circle of friends. again, chasers are those men who just want us for a good time, not for a long time.
Exactly.
And usually they're not good for our mental health either.
Absolutely not.
They don't care about what we have to go through.
No.
They just want us for the hour.
No,
Yeah.
they just want us for the hour.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And exactly.
Yeah.
You're a product and
Yeah.
a service
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But we turn them on so much.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like,
Oh, I love it.
you know, it's nice to it's nice to feel sexualized sometimes, but it also comes with a dark side.
Of course.
And you know, we're constantly thinking, are they dating me for who I am, not what I am? There's always that lingering
Well,
thing.
you know that once you spend more than maybe like 5-10 dates with this person,
You can
then you
quickly
know
realise,
then it's probably not a chaser, but actually a
genuine
man or person
person.
who likes you for who you are, who loves your
Exactly.
transness, but your transness
doesn't
is
define
not,
you.
Yeah, it's not a priority number one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we're trans. Yeah, great. It doesn't. Yeah, I am trans. I'm very proud of that. But there's so much more to me than that.
Yeah, 100%. So would you say that these issues or these things that happen to you are the downside of being trans? What is the most challenging part of being trans for you?
It's how you look at it, really, isn't it? I mean, something to us that might be a challenge.
Your challenge, your
might
own
be a
challenge.
reward
If
for
you don't
somebody
compare
else.
anyone else, what has been the most challenging time during your transition?
The only thing that I could say that I will hands down say has been the most difficult thing for me being trans is to love myself.
That's a good one.
I have finally come to that stage where I do love myself, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that I wake up in the morning and I go to bed at night happy.
Yeah. I would love to get there.
You'll get there. It's a journey. It's a real journey.
Yeah.
And that's not a given, you know. People go through. Oh, sweetheart, you go through life with so much crap. If you can get to a place where you are happy and you're content and you know who you are, who cares about what anyone else thinks? But you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to believe it.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the most important or one of the most challenging things during your transition. Is like, I read a book about happiness in your 20s, which was written 80% before I transition. And there's lots of topics about self-love and self-acceptance. But now when I live in this trans experience, it's so hard to love yourself while you're dealing with gender dysphoria. So I'm really struggling to find the balance and really navigate this, because you know you love yourself. You know, you want to do these amazing things for yourself. You try to be gentle to yourself. You know, you have all these things from podcasts, from books. You know what it takes. But at the same time, you really struggle with, I would say, self-hate and gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia. And how do you navigate self-love and self-acceptance when you are a trans person and you deal with that? That's, I would say, one of my number one struggles.
Your inner saboteur. You can be your own biggest hater. You can really battle with yourself. And you can hash things out in your own mind certain ways and think about yourself in a certain way. You do need to remember, though, we have dysphoria. And that in itself is a whole concept. But we often attribute other traits like body dysmorphia, which isn't dysphoria. Dysphoria is when you're dysphoric about you and yourself. Dysmorphia is when you look at yourself and you don't see what actually is in front of you. And they're very different, and you have to remember that.
I have both.
Join the club.
Oh, no, but it's true. No, yeah.
You know, and we know that. right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any easier. You can educate yourself and you can know why I'm feeling this way and you can understand it and you can go through CBT and you can go through therapy. Talking therapy I find really helps. Because we tend to overthink things in our head and we build things up in our own head. When we can sit and talk and actually discuss things that
helps so much.
are generally seen as taboo, or feelings that we're like, I wish I wasn't thinking this. Is this weird? No, it's not, because there are other people who are thinking exactly the same thing as you, and you're not alone. And there are so many people out there who have experienced or are experiencing the same situations that you're in.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That was put on. What would you say is the best part about being trans?
Oh, trans joy can be anything you really want. I think the biggest thing for me is going back to that inner child again. When I do my hair and makeup and I'm all dressed up and I'm looking really glam, and I mean, I don't do that every day, you know, because that doesn't define you as a person. But when I have that feeling of feeling really sexy and really glam, for me,
Like right now.
Oh, thanks, Gorge. Likewise. That's for me when I'm like, oh, damn, I look good, you know? And it's not just a cosmetic thing, seeing yourself in this vision of what you perceive yourself is. It's the feeling that you get from within. And that inner child and that happiness, like you were saying, when you look at yourself and you were free and you were happy and you were playing and you were, whatever it was in that moment, it takes me back to that. And I was obsessed with, you know, Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. And it's because of that role and that fantasy and that escapism of being a princess and everything around that. I genuinely have so much love for myself when I feel I am myself.
Beautiful.
And that's not in a shallow surface level way, and I know that could come across as that. It's more than that. It's the feeling that you get from that.
Yeah.
Because when we first started our transition, you know, years and years ago, just even looking half like you feel was like a massive triumph.
Yes.
But now we don't have to try anymore. We just are.
Yeah.
We've reached that euphoric moment. And, you know, my gender dysphoria genuinely has gone from dysphoria to euphoria. And I don't have it every day, but who does? Who wakes up euphoric every single day of their life? No one. And if they say they do, they're lying. You know? So if you can wake up, feel great about yourself, you're doing a good job.
Are you proud of yourself?
I'd like to think I am. I think, like you, I can often be quite hard on myself. You know, you're always trying to better yourself. You're always trying to grow. You're always trying to transform and evolve. And that's a great mantra to have in life, you know? Because if you just get somewhere and then you're there and you're done, what else is there to live for? So you want to keep progressing and you want to keep growing. And I think sometimes for me, I tend to forget how far I've actually come, because you kind of still see yourself as that person that you once were. You still feel like, oh, can people see my old self? But actually that person's gone now. And I am here today standing who I am. And that, did I answer the question or did I just go off on a massive tangent?
No, you said pretty much everything. Why are you proud of yourself? Yeah. I
think I'm not proud of myself just yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing, you know. I think once we really find some sort of peace within ourselves, and then try to be the best versions of ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
As you said, like even cis people, they all struggle with something, you know. Sometimes maybe I was going to ask you, like, if your downside or down days when you feel really sad, depressed, whatever, if they are related to your identity and your transition or if it's something else.
I think that's a very good question, and I think
Always.
I like to thank you so much. I think that's a really great question, and I think there's so much to unpack from that. I think there's two sides to it. I think sometimes I wake up like any person or cis woman, I don't feel confident in myself. Like I might have put a little bit of weight on recently, or my skin's not so great, or my hair's being a bit weird and I don't know why. So you have those societal insecurities, but it can also link into your dysphoric insecurities because you attribute, really nice long flowy hair with women. You associate an hourglass figure with women, but that's society telling you that's what a woman should look like. It doesn't make them a woman. They, like I was saying about the masculine woman coming in.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to have long hair. She doesn't want to have amazing skin and wear makeup and look really Barbie doll-like.
Yeah, exactly.
She is very happy living in this masculine version of herself. And that's fine. So, I try to go forward every day positive, and I try to ride through it. I think when I have a down day or I have a dysphoric moment, I tend to shut myself away because as a trans person, I'm sure you can relate, just by going through life, you tend to worry, are they looking at me? Do they know I'm trans? Have I been clocked? Are they saying something about me? Is that person laughing? Is that at me?
Yeah.
Or they're looking at me. Is it because of how I look? So you're constantly all the time, surveying and scanning. Fight or flight, always. And that is a sense of anxiety.
Yeah, I think every trans person is going through that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I think it's something that people don't realize, that every trans person, when they leave the house, there's always the sense of fear, like, am I gonna get attacked today?
Am I passable enough?
So, in my case, it's mostly the safety part.
100%. I think safety for me, I don't attribute my transness with safety. However, that does play a part in it. I think for me, safety comes down to just being a woman. And that comes with lots of complexities that men don't get. Men can just walk down the street and not worry about somebody catcalling them or somebody making an inappropriate sexist comment or being touched inappropriately, being sexually assaulted, being followed home. All of these things have happened to me post-transition. None of that happened to me before. Well, I would say, yes, there were a few times, but that was because I was very effeminate back then. And that attributes towards kind of womanhood. And that femininity is seen as like a weakness, and femininity is preyed upon. I mean, look at Sarah Everard, for example, with Wayne Couzens. He was a policeman who he used his authority, abducted an innocent cisgender woman, raped her and killed her and dumped her in a forest. How can we leave the house thinking, I know I am safe, when the people that are supposed to be protecting us are harming us?
Yeah.
So, are we safe? No. Do I go through my daily life scared 24/7? Sometimes. But I don't let that stop my life. And I never would.
Let's turn the page now. You were on reality TV show.
Yes.
It was 99 to Beat.
Correct.
It's a reality game TV show.
Yes.
What made you go there? What was it like?
Oh, gosh. Do you want the whole story?
Go crazy.
So I originally applied for Big Brother. And I got quite far in the audition process on Big Brother. And met with the exec producers, did all the filming and stuff. And then they're very cutthroat. They're like, no, we don't want you for this season. They don't give you any feedback. It's just no.
Yeah.
Literally, like, the same time of that happening, a casting team who work on Big Brother said, we're casting for another show called 99 to Beat. And I was like, what? And they're like, it's primetime telly, it's on a Saturday night, and it's across 8 weeks. And we just need you to send in a little show reel. So I did. I sent in, saying my audition, I wanted to go on it. And it was a prize fund money. And it was 25 grand. And at the time, I was saving up for my SRS. And that 25 grand was a tick to get it. So I thought this could pay for my final leg of my transition. So that was for me the oomph that put me on the show.
And how was the experience like?
Do you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. It was genuinely one of the most eye-opening, exciting experiences I've ever done, actually. I've always wanted to be on TV. I've always wanted to be a TV presenter. When I stood up in assembly when I was like 12, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a TV presenter.
You'd be a great TV presenter.
Thank you.
And see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd love to be like the next Holly Willoughby.
Yeah.
Oh,
you can, honey.
Thank you, God.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Go crazy. I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
For those who don't know what 99 to Beat is about, can you please explain?
Of course. So 99 to Beat is like the ITV version of Squid Games. You don't die, but you generally feel like you do when you get eliminated. So it's across 8 weeks, and there are 7 to 8 games each episode, and you're eliminated one by one / team games. So I made it to episode 6 out of 8. I placed 22 out of 100.
Amazing.
So I got quite a lot of airtime,
That's good.
And I think there were some people that got further than me who actually weren't really in it that much. So I think they definitely liked me as an individual. However, I feel a bit shortchanged from it a little bit because they cut everything about me being trans.
Okay.
So when I went through my casting process, they were like, tell us about yourself. And, obviously I have to say I don't have to, but it's part of me. And, is that going to be enough? Like, no, because it's just a small segment of my identity, but it's part of who I am. So fundamentally, I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And so we went on the show, and I spoke quite in depth, actually, in your bios. Like, when it's called... behind the scenes, like a little interview
snippets
in the rooms and stuff,
right?
And they ask you questions, and I told them about my story, and they're like, that's really good, like everything. When it got to edit, they cut all of that out, and I was like, why would you do that? Because there are people
Did you do it with everyone or just with you?
Just with me,
really?
Just my trans journey section. There were other people on the show who were autistic or neurodivergent, or, it was 100 people. So it was like a little mini microcosm of society, everyone. So, they were ticking off all the quotas.
Yeah.
But they failed to mention that I was trans. And I don't know whether or not it's because it was, a family show, and they didn't want to kind of identify somebody as being trans, because a lot of the audience would have been younger audience. Would they understand it? But in a way, I felt like my story was silenced in a way.
It's a shame.
Not intentionally in a horrible light, because they definitely did show me of, who I am, and I got Bella across, but they did leave that out, which I found unusual.
It's a shame, because you could have been a great representation for the trans community.
Thank you.
And, it's never... People are just always scared, like, when is it too early to tell the kids, I have a good friend whose kid is 6-year-old, and that kid knows everything. Really? And it's so educated. They just educate him. He knows that I was born male. I'm transgender. He got educated. He got the knowledge. Okay, he got over it. Done.
Yeah,
done. It's that easy.
It's that easy. I wish people would.
And also, some people still think that it's a choice to be trans.
Why would I choose this?
We decide, with grooming children, or this
goodness.
whole thing. We think that people can we influence someone to be trans. We can inspire someone to come out, but it's in them since they were born.
Yes.
It's not something that like, okay, I'm gonna transition. I'm bored. Like, it doesn't work like that. Same with your sexual orientation.
Exactly.
Same with your identity.
Exactly.
It's something it's who you are.
Because if you're going to say that being transgender is a choice, well, being homosexual is a choice.
100%. So if people have a problem with us being so loud and visible and constantly talking about it, because they think that suddenly everyone's gonna turn gay, lesbian, trans, bisexual, like, it's like, no, you have more cases of us because we are louder. There's power of social media. Now is the best time ever, I would say. Yes, it is to
speak
be yourself, and it's the best time to do it. That's why you've got more cases of people being trans or gay, because people have
more awareness
and representation.
Yes, because name one trans woman that you knew, like a big mainstream celebrity or person that you know in TV and film when you were growing up. One trans person. Do you know who that is?
No. I don't know anyone until I was like 19, 20.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea.
Yeah.
I knew,
I didn't even know what transgender was when I was a kid.
No. I'm wondering sometimes, like, if I knew back then, would it be different?
Well, this is what I was saying, but I think it's a really tough one, isn't it?
I'm not going back. There's like literally zero regrets.
No, same.
When I look at a
exactly.
picture of me representing male, I'm very happy. Like, I was really happy at the time, and I was happy until I got gender dysphoria, which wasn't until I was 21. So until that time, it was a happy childhood, and I'm grateful. But I'm, you're wondering, what if there was representation,
Because also you tend to think in your transition as well, you're like, had I had transitioned before puberty, I wouldn't have had to have the whole list of surgeries that I've had to do to undo the puberty that I kind of didn't want. And I think saying that you can't have puberty blockers now, I mean, they're rolling that out. I don't know how far it is. I'm not sure on the legalities of it, but they're saying that children have to wait until they're like 16 or 18 to be able to go onto puberty blockers or start hormones. But by that time, it's too late. I mean, I started puberty when I was like 13. And I just remember thinking, like, what's happening to my body? I don't like it. I had so much dysphoria about it that I didn't understand and I didn't want. It had, like you said, things happened earlier on. Maybe things were different, but like you also said, I wouldn't change it because I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah. I've made peace with it, and I'm really happy where I am. And it just, I think, when I look back, everything worked out as it should have.
Yeah.
Just perfect.
I mean, look at you now, babe. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. So you mentioned you got podcast.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
What is your podcast about?
So it's called Tea and Toast.
Tea and Toast.
Yes. So the whole story, I'm going to give you the whole tea. So on the show 99 to Be, you had myself and then you had two of my girlfriends on the show who I stood next to in the circle. So there's the circle which you stand in, and then every challenge you get eliminated, somebody goes out, and then your light's still on and the other lights are off. So I stood next to them, and they're called Nancy and Bianca, and they are honestly two girls that I would never have met in my everyday life. However, we have this connection and this energy, and we uplift each other, and we just want the best for each other. The reason why it's called Tea and Toast is because we went out one night and had a bit of a kiki, and then the next morning we were all hungover in my bed. I went, I just really want some tea and toast.
Yeah.
So we watched some Tea and Toast. We watched Strictly Come Dancing on the telly, and we were just chatting, and we were like, God, girls, we'd be pretty good as a podcast, don't you think? And we were like, should we do it? And we went, yeah. And then we made a podcast.
Love it.
And turns out that people like it.
Yeah. What do you talk about?
Honestly, everything and anything. We have a structure.
Just the three of you.
It's the three of us, but we have guests on as well. You'll have to come on.
I have to be one of your guests.
Do you know what? We're planning season 2.
Okay, let's do it.
So we'll get you on season 2.
Let's do it.
You would be great on it.
Let's do it.
Are you spiritual?
Yes.
Do you do tarot reading?
Yes.
I'll speak to you after this and we'll get you on.
Let's do it.
We'll get you on.
Okay.
So season 2's in talks, and there's a lot of exciting things to come for season 2. But season 1 primarily is talking about the show of 99 to Beat and like the behind the scenes gossip and all of that jazz. But it's really fun, uplifting. If you want to just whack something on and do the cooking or do your housework or whatever, have it on in the background, you're going to feel good after it.
That's good. Amazing. I can't wait to give a listen later.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll check it out. What's next for you, Bella? What's your plans for the future?
Very good question. For me, the dream is to do more TV. So I am in talks with other producers at the moment and other shows. I can't say what they are. But I would absolutely love to get on another TV show.
Yeah.
I think along the lines of Traitors, Big Brother. I'd love to do Strictly Come Dancing. I'd have to be a celebrity, but celebrity get me out of here. Oh, I'd love that.
Would you like to host it or be as a competitor?
I want to go
Contestant.
I want to be like a contestant first. Then I want to step into, okay, my settled career is like This Morning or Loose Women.
Host,
I would love to, because I just love chatting. I'm a people person. And, I think I've got a lot to say.
Casting producers, if you're watching,
Pick me.
here is one of your amazing choices.
Thank you, God.
You'll be great at it. I can see you. Yeah.
Thank you. We should both go on Loose Women. We'd be great on it.
Oh, it'd be so loose, honey. Last question.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish everyone knew about trans women?
Ooh, another good question. It's as if you've done this before. One thing that I would love everybody to know about trans women is that we are people as well. I think that's quite an important point, actually. Yes, we're trans.
We're humans.
But we're humans. We are flesh and blood, just like you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Bella. It was really nice to have you here. You were amazing. I think you're so wise and smart and talented and well-spoken. You'd be really great on TV. I think, honestly.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. And I can't wait to talk about your life, your dating life, and more, and gossips from reality TV shows on Patreon. So make sure you tune in on Patreon as well right after today. Link in bio as always. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for sharing your podcast with your loved ones. It means so much. And remember, so much realness, it will make you blush every Thursday on Trans Crash. See you next Thursday.
The most scandalous dating experience for me was, I'm not trying to put people off dating trans women. If they want to do that as a kink, absolutely fine. But for straight guys, it can almost be quite embarrassing to say that they are dating a trans woman. A lot of guys like trans women more than people will actually admit.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're dating my boyfriend.
Oh my God. How was the dating before and how is the dating after?
Very different. I can come, I can orgasm, and
wow.